I remember when I was little. Before that,
Yeah.
they had a pecan box. It was a wooden box crate about 12 inches tall and 12 inches wide and 24 inches deep, and there was a pecan nutcracker.
Nutcracker.
You remember that?
I think so.
And what would
Attached
happen
to the side.
is they would, Dad would pay us. We had a quart jar and 2 pint jars, and we were paid to crack the pecans, pick them out, and fill those jars.
It's a lot
And
of
we
work.
got $2.50 for a quart and then 2 pints of picked out pecans.
That's a lot of money.
Well, it was a lot of money, and it's a lot of work to
was a lot
put
of
all
work.
that stuff together
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, but I never, the pecan shelling machine was
You don't remember that?
no, that was the El Dorado of kid stuff as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, it was
Everybody
it was an
dreamed
adult
of that sort of thing, yeah.
Now, do you remember Uncle Harry when you would?
Oh, definitely.
What do you remember about him?
Well, I didn't know him well until after he had his stroke, and so I didn't have a lot of back and forth with Uncle Harry. But
What
he
did
was-
your mother tell you about him?
That he was, she really loved him. I mean, they were very close, brother and sister.
And why did she like him? What did she like about him?
I guess they just clicked. You know, he would ask about her at school, and I don't really know. I just know that he was a very fond memory, a person that she talked about with fondness.
And what did she think? I remember her telling me when I was there about Mammy calling him up all the time when there were thunderstorms.
Oh,
Do you remember that story?
I just think that's what happened, is that Mammy got scared, and she would ask
During thunderstorms?
during thunderstorms. Yeah.
For him to come over.
Mm-hmm.
I think scared is an understatement.
Hysterical.
I would say abject terror.
And do you have any idea why that happened? Why she was so scared?
Do you know that?
What? Oh, I remember being there.
But I mean, why she got so scared?
No, I had no idea what the foundation for that was, but she was famous for terror in a thunderstorm. And also, as in one of James Thurber's stories, you couldn't talk on the telephone during a thunderstorm, or the lightning was apt to come out of the phone and
Yeah.
Now that has happened.
blow your head off. Yeah.
Well, Grandmama, her mom used to make us lie on the beds during thunderstorms in case the lightning hit, then you'd be on the bed and it wouldn't get you. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did that work? You never got
Apparently.
hit
No,
by
I never
lightning?
got hit by lightning.
The lightning.
Well, what was Mammy like? What do you remember her being like?
She was a lovely lady. She was a lovely lady and kind, and a good cook, and she loved to show me her things. She would take me to cupboards and open up cupboards, and she just enjoyed sharing, and probably because I was a girl, you know, I don't think she
Well,
might
she
have
did it
done
with
that
me
as well.
too,
Did she do that
somewhat,
with
yeah.
you? Well, at any rate, she certainly did it with me, and she would open it, and there was like this huge treasure chest, like that big Victorian china cabinet that was in
Yeah.
the dining room, and then she'd go to
With this table.
with this table, and or most parts of this table, and she would go and pull out each object and tell a story about it. So she,
Where did she tell you things came from? Did she talk about it came from her family, or did she say?
I honestly don't remember. What I remember was the experience. It was her home smelled so many smells that I've never smelled anywhere else before. The inside of the china cabinet and the kitchen, and the way the dining room smelled, and the roses that she always had in a certain spot in the front. Do you remember that spot when you came in the front door that she had the column, and she always had a a group of roses over there, and they were from her garden, and they were the old-fashioned roses that still had a fragrance. I remember that, and I remember when she put in the air conditioner, and not upstairs in the rooms where we slept, it was downstairs in the front room, so that when occasionally she would have a visitor, she'd turn on the air conditioner.
Now, I don't remember the air conditioner at all. I don't
Yeah.
ever remember that.
It was in that window to the, when you looked at the fireplace that was on the right side of the fireplace.
Wasn't that a miracle? Air conditioning.
Oh, yes, but I kept wondering why it wasn't upstairs so we could sleep better. Practical me.
And so Uncle Harry, you didn't really get a feeling for his personality. I just remember him being very, very elegant and kind and lovely.
I don't believe I remember him standing up, to tell you the truth. He was incapacitated, and I mainly remember him seated.
Uh-huh. And Aunt Hattie, remember her?
Oh, she was amazing. She was a wood sprite. She was a dancer and a gourmet cook, and she was unusual woman, particularly in the middle of Tiptonville, Tennessee. she was I don't know. She reminded me of a dancer, and she had scarves and outfits and
Very
shoes
dramatic.
that I had never seen anyone else wear. And and then she had gourmet magazines stacked. This was back in the 50s. I never knew
Yeah.
anything about this. And she'd have things in her refrigerator that I'd never heard of before. And she was just such an unusual lady that she was astonishing. She was just a character.
It's Uncle Harry's wife?
Yeah, they had the biggest house in town too, I remember that.
Was it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
They bought Dr. Griffin's house. Dr. Griffin was a closest friend to my grandfather, Dad's father, and Aunt Sally's father. And he was, for 50 years or more, far and away the leading physician in Tiptonville, almost the only physician in Tiptonville for a large part of that town. But they were close friends, and when he died, was roughly contemporaneous with Uncle Harry coming back to Memphis from Culver.
To Tiptonville.
And to Tiptonville, yeah, and he bought Uncle Harry's. Uncle Harry bought Dr. Griffin's house.
And that's since been donated to a church, and then the church tore
The
it
church
down.
was
Oh,
right
that
next
horrible.
door to the
Yeah.
Baptist church.
They said they'd keep it, and then they tore it down, and made a parking lot, which is really sad.
Yeah.
I just love that house.
It was a beautiful house. And the doors, those tall doors
Yeah.
Yeah.
that slid closed, they were gorgeous. Oh, what a shame.
Yeah, what are they, pocket doors?
Pocket doors. But big, heavy, tall.
Well, it was probably built in 1890 sometime. So it was that vintage of
Could have
house.
been preserved and restored.
What a shame.
It is a shame. And then,
Well, do you remember Dad? Anything about Dad?
Oh, when?
My father,
Oh, your
yeah.
father? Oh,
Yeah.
talk about elegant. He was
Yeah.
an elegant gentleman. That's, I remember how tall he seemed, and of course I didn't have a man in my house. So he was a little bit intimidating because he had a very strong personality. So I didn't say much and I kept my distance. I spoke when spoken to.
He had that effect on a lot of people.
yep. And Aunt Hattie hated Mammy. Did your mother tell you that?
She did.
And what did she say about
Well, she wasn't overly fond of getting called in the middle of the night and having her husband go out to rescue his mother for thunderstorms for years and years. That didn't help any. And the one story that I suppose makes it all true, I don't know, I wasn't around, but she said that at Mammy's funeral that Tatty came in a big red hat.
She was so happy.
Well, I remember the funeral, but I don't remember her coming in a big red hat.
That's what Aunt Sally told me
That-
too.
yeah.
Must have been true. Made a big impression on her.
Yeah.
Huh. And she couldn't have children, Aunt Tatty couldn't because her family had some history of mental something.
That's right. I had forgotten that.
And I
That's
don't know
right.
if that was true.
She
or not.
was, no, yeah, she had a sister who was,
Had some mental weakness or something.
well, it was a developmental thing. It wasn't a brain injury or anything. She was a mongoloid,
Okay.
Oh, is that what it was?
that kind of thing, yeah.
And so she felt like she could never have children because
Yeah,
of
that was the way she felt.
That was scientifically inaccurate, which is too bad.
Well, I think people believed a lot of scientifically inaccurate things,
Back then.
both in those days and nowadays. But that story I've heard all along is they didn't want any children because they were afraid they would be
Had a history. I
developmentally.
can't remember the way it was put, but something like mental weakness or something like that. I can't
It
remember.
might
what
have been a term that was used.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.